Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to walk you through a 4-step process that I think unlocks the maximum potential of every Muslim coaching business or service providers out there. And so whether you're just getting started or you're trying to make even more money and you've been very inconsistent lately, this process genuinely just works. I've done it into tons of different, portfolio companies and also people I've advised, and this genuinely just works, all right? So that being said, let's just dive into it. So the first step of this whole process is going to be organic, right? The key here is to just generate attention, right? And in a halal way, and get people going down your funnel. Because the most important thing is, if you don't have any attention, right, it's going to be very hard to sell anything. And it's simple as that, right? Because now besides attention, you also need trust. And that's where most people mess up. The easiest way to build trust is via YouTube, right? And YouTube is by far the best way to build trust with your audience and show them who you are and show them your expertise and actually get them to really like, and trust you. Like, they get to know you, like and trust you. And in this day and age, it's so hard for someone to even trust you online because there's so many people out there scamming, so many scam artists, and that's why trust is also very important, no matter what you're actually selling. So the real question is, how can you build enough trust to make them believe in your process and that you're different and that it actually will work this time, right? So that's the key. And I'll tell you what, right? The easiest way to do that is not through a 30-second reel or through a 30-second ad. The easiest way to build that trust and get people to know you and also get people to know, like and trust you, is by putting up a 20 to 30-minute YouTube video, just like you can see in these examples, right? Showing them who you are, your personality, your voice, your knowledge, and everything. Just like you can see here again, YouTube videos are definitely one of the best ways to do it, but here's the trick, right? You're not just giving them information, you're shifting their beliefs, right? How can you change their limited beliefs and get them to believe in your process and also your mechanisms, the way of you work and the way you actually deliver the services, right? Because when you can do that, that's when you crack the content, that's when you crack also trust, and that's when you crack inbound leads. Because now let me show you how this ties in practical, right? There's a study by Google. I don't know how many years it's actually been. I don't know when it's actually done, but it was once done, and it's called the 4-7-11 rule, right? This is super important now, and not just now, but also everything that's coming later inside for this video, which I'm going to explain. But long story short, so for a potential customer to even engage with you and buy something from you, they need to engage with your brand for about 7 hours, experience 11 touch points, and across 4 different platforms, right? This just shows how important consistent and diverse brand exposure is, right? You just have to give them enough time and enough places to get them to know you. And now let's build that into a perspective, right? Let's say someone follows you for a year, right? And let's say, for example, they watch 5 videos a week, actually 5 shorts a week, and that's 250 shorts a year. And let's be generous and say, each one is around 30 seconds. Most of them are actually, 20 or 10 seconds long. But either way, let's just say it's 30 seconds long. So if you make that, calculations and the math, as some people can say it, that's about 120 minutes, right? Or 2 hours of, just content. So they consume 2 hours of content over a year before they decide to buy something. Or we can just get them to consume those same 2 hours upfront through long form YouTube and have them warm enough to buy today, right? And the best part is, these YouTube videos don't even need to go viral because we're not optimizing for views, we're optimizing to get the money, right? And to get the inbound leads also. Now, before we jump into step 2 of this whole process, there's a little strategy that's killing it right now very well on social media, and I wanted to give it to you, right? It's what I call organic plus CTA. I know it's a very complicated name, but you create your regular organic content. So some will actually do better than others, and that's also actually very normal. But here's the trick, right? You attach a call to action, or CTA, at the end of your best performing content, right? That's it, right? And you just say something like, DM the word X to get Y. Like you can see right over here, it says DM the word training, and that sends you to a offer or a funnel, free buy or whatever it is, right? And we already know that it works because I've done it, other people have done it, and you've seen the results, right? At the end of the day, we need to show people something to get them interested in our stuff, right? Can we agree on that, right? Because if yes, then you're already running some sort of ad, even if it's organic, right? Whether it's just doing outreach or real interrupting their scroll, or like a long form YouTube video like this, it's all marketing, it's all attention, right? Long story short, creating a personal brand will allow you to separate yourself from the market charge more money, and be on authority, right? And be someone that people actually want to work with you, okay? And if you create content, your potential client won't compare you, just to everyone else, right? It's just a cheat code, especially if you understand them more than you understand your competitors. So once they're posting YouTube videos and our IG Reels are doing very well, and their profiles also getting more traffic and everything. So now that we have their attention, right? We have their trust, and we also know that they actually see us differently from our competitors. That's all we need also to move to step 2, right? So step 2 of this whole process is going to be, now I just wanted to make one thing clear, right? I don't care how good your trust is, and I don't care how good your sales is. A lot of you guys are just probably maybe relying on Reels, and some other people maybe just on ads, paid ads, which is actually step 2. But you need both to work. In my experience of testing it on hundreds of different clients and figuring out what funnel works best, you need Reels and paid ads both in order for it to work. But trust me, between all the different ways of getting customers, either through organic or through paid ads or through even affiliates, right? Or maybe even through outreach, trust me, the fastest way to actually scale a whole company is to actually run paid ads, right? And of course you need attention and also the trust to it. And why is that? Because one skilled person with just a button can scale things really to the moon, right? And that's why the next step in this process, as I've said and as you've seen, is going to be run paid ads. Because when Reels stop hitting, when the algorithms change, when organic slows down, paid ads keep you in the game. And what are paid ads really? You're just creating an ad, showing it to the right audience, and letting it bring people to your page and into your funnel, right? And now you're not just relying on luck, you're building real, consistent attention on demand. So yes, organic content is great. But let's be real, it's not enough to build a long-term business. You need consistent eyeballs on your page, and trust me, running ads is the single fastest way to scale. And again, I want to emphasize one very simple principle, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. We are already doing things which are working very well, and we're just using that same principle for ads, right? So we already use ads that work, and you just need to find that pattern that makes them work really, really well, and you just change it to your style, and then, make them. And some of the biggest names also in this space use traffic, actually paid traffic, such as Alex Ramosi and Iman Gachi. And even though they have some of the most insane organic, reach, and they go very viral, they still run paid ads every single month, because they're smart and they actually want control. The beautiful thing about paid ad is that once your ad is ready, you can get inbound leads already in 2 to 3 hours from the moment you actually launch them. So that's how fast it works. And by the way, you can never have too many ads. Just give the algorithm more things to test and let it actually find the winner. Don't be stupid and don't just rely on organic. You also need paid ads in order to scale even bigger, okay? Now, once we have our paid ads running, we're getting eyeballs, right? People are seeing the ads, and then what are they doing? They're taking action, all right? And as you see in the example, they click on the ad, and the next step in the process is going to be the opt-in, right? We want them to give their information in exchange for something, right? And usually that something is what we call a lead magnet. Now, why are lead magnets so important, both now and also for later down this process? Because we're giving them something for free, right? And in return we get their email, right, or their phone number, but most of the time it's actually going to be the email. And in exchange they're getting real value, and we're building warmth, we're nurturing them, and we're bringing them closer and closer to the point of making a decision. And so what can this lead magnet actually be? Let's say, for example, you're actually an appointment setter, right? You could be giving away sales script, right, that help people book more calls. The point is, we want to solve the tiniest problem possible for this prospect and solve it so well it just blows them away, right? Now, some people go all out, right? They make a whole video course, they make a big, huge course, and there's actually nothing wrong in that, but something needs to be clear, right? You need to understand that there's always a certain amount of information someone needs in order to make a decision. This is very important to know, right? That's the key here. So forget the idea of emotional buyer versus logical buyer. The way I think about it is just high information buyers, low information buyers. And some people need more info, some people need less. But if you provide more info to everyone, you would just close more people overall. A lot of us are trying to run ads and go straight to the sale, right? And yes, sometimes it may work. These are actually people who will see an ad, watch a video and immediately buy something. And these people exist, and we actually love those people because they make this whole process, this whole funnel actually work very well. But let's be real, they're like 3% of the market, right? 3%, and the rest is just 90% of the people, right? And they need a little more info, a little more warmth, a little more information before they actually feel comfortable enough to make actually a decision. And that's exactly where this lead magnet comes in, right? And so as people move through your funnel, they're going to self-identify in one of two ways. And your lead magnet helps you catch both groups. Now here's actually how to make a good lead magnet, right? I'm just going to give you a very easy example, right? You can reveal a problem, right? So for example, the reason why you're not getting replies in your DMs is because of this. And boom, you've revealed a whole gap in the market, right? Now you show them the framework, you've educated them and actually shifted their belief, and that builds trust. One of the biggest mistakes people also make with lead magnets is that they also focus on the wrong person, right? The wrong avatar. And let's say you have a lead magnet called how to get your first 5 clients, for example. That's great. I'm always happy to help beginners, right? But is someone just starting out my dream client today? No. Maybe they will be in 5 years from now on, and that's fine, and I'll be still betting on them, right? But if I'm honest, they're not the avatar I want right now. So if you have a spectrum of people you could serve, you want to make sure your lead magnet is built specifically for your ideal customer. And if you're not clear on what that ideal customer is, then you're definitely not going to make the right lead magnet, right? This is also very important to know. So again, what do? We reveal the problem, we give them solutions, and most importantly, we make them feel like, yo, subhanallah, this is exactly what I needed. And once they feel that, right, the likelihood that they just believe you can help them goes way up, right? And it's simple. It just gives them that extra info they need to eventually say like, you know what, this is the the person I need to work with. And so the lead magnet does 2 key things here. It sets the stage for the rest of the relationship, and it also attracts the exact type of person you actually want to work with. So someone who's qualified, someone who's ready, and someone who's already starting to believe in you. And before you even get on your call or try to close a sale, they already want to work with you, right? Now, once we have our lead magnet, right, we also have the prospects information. What's the next move, right? We need something that's gonna sell them, and something that warms them up and also gets them to take the next step. And this is where the VSL comes in, right? Your video sales letter. And it maybe sound fancy, a video sales letter, but trust me, it's nothing too crazy. We have to convert them, right? And this is where our video sales letter comes into the play. So the video sales letter, that's probably one of the most high leverage things you can actually create in terms of sales for your company. And a VSL, what do I actually put inside of it? You may be thinking like, yo, Adwan, that's nice. I mean, like a VSL, okay, it sounds good, but what do I put inside of a VSL? And I'm gonna walk you through it, very simple. And there's a bunch of different things you can actually do. There's also different versions of a VSL you can run. I'm not gonna go into that, way too deep today, but people overcomplicate this, right? They treat it like, it's like a mysterious black box of crazy copywriting skills, right? But I've actually made a lot of these, and trust me, I can tell you right now, there's nothing crazy about it, right? There's actually a structure, a rhythm, a pattern, a way to speak to your prospect, so it just clicks, right? So let me give you one of the most reliable frameworks that works time and time again, right? And you're actually going to have the 5 P's: prove, promise, pain, plan, and picture. Very simple, okay? And so what does this mean? Why should they actually believe in you, right? You show them the receipts, you show them the results, and why they actually should, believe in you. So you start with your promise, right? What are they going to get by watching this video? Then you get into the pain thing, right? You show them, hey, I know where you're at, I know how it feels, and I've been there. And you just kind of show them how difficult it is and how to get out of it. Then the next is the plan. Again, lay out how you're gonna help them actually solve this problem. And finally, the picture, paint the vision, right? Let them see what life looks like on the other side. Now, once you've laid this all out, you move into what I call the FAQ section, right? This is probably one of the very big key parts, right? You need to answer every single question someone would normally ask on a sales call before they even get on a call. That way, they already get pre-sold. You're not spending the first 30 minutes explaining what you do, and you're actually helping them make a decision. Questions like, how long have you actually been doing this? How do I know this is legit? Answering all of their concerns in the video, right? And then finally, it's just I call it actually a little like proof stack at the end, which is, you know, you just put stories of successful customers, you know, behind each other at the end of the video, right? That's it. And you can also put your CTA there, right? And you know, at the end of the VSL, like as I said, you can also just make a testimonial reel with all of the, you know, case studies and actually results you've been able to actually get for your clients. And you may be thinking like, Advan, bro, who's ever going to watch that, right? Who does actually, you know, of course I watch one case study, two case studies, and that's it. I don't care about the rest. But trust me, people watch all of them, right? So this is also very important. I'm just, you know, giving you some heads up. You're just answering all of the questions a person might have before buying into the VSL. So by the time they get on a call with you, you're not just trying to convince them, you're just guiding them towards a decision they've already made. So if right now it's taking you 2 or 3 calls to close someone, right? It's because they need 2 or 3 hours of information before they even feel confident to buy, right? The VSL lets you compress that into 10 to 15 minutes of storytelling, and that changes everything, right? So now you've got an ad, they clicked on it, they get the free thing, they've got, you know, the video sales letter, but now we have to convert these people. The next step is called band, right? It's called band. I may actually have talked about this on my IG, but you know, I'm not going to go very deep into this, you know, but you want to make sure you have a budget, authority, need, and timing, right? Do they actually get the money to spend? Do they have the ability to make the decision? Do they need this thing? And is it right now the right time they want to buy? And if they can answer those 4 questions, and you do that in your application or if you have a scheduler, right? When they're booking a call, you make sure that those are the questions that are being asked, right? And here's the tough part. You actually only take calls with people who say that they have money to spend, they have authority to make decisions, and they have the need, and they're willing to move, you know, the needle forward. Now, how much easier of a call do you think it's going to be when someone's gotten value from you, then they fully understand the question that someone might ask around making purchasing decisions from you, then they say they have the money, the time, the need, and the authority to do it, and now you're just talking to them on the call, right? How likely is it going to be that you're going to close them? It's going to be way higher than they didn't have all this stuff before it, because now they have all this stuff, they're on the call with you, and it's way harder to actually close them. Right, so the reason that this process right there is the most efficient way of converting traffic is that it kind of works like a microwave, right? You take someone from a cold prospect to a hot prospect ready to work with you. Now, what happens to all the leads that go through this process and don't necessarily want to purchase something immediately, right? You know, these are actually kind of like the logical people, the people that actually, you know, make sense and they're not crazy, okay? So what do we do with these people, right? Well, we want to put them somewhere that we're going to give them long-term nurture, right? Where we just say, you know, oh, you're the type of person, you know, who needs more information to make a decision. And we're going to do that, right? You know, we're going to provide more value over a longer period of time, right? And so that's where things like having a free school group where you can just dump all the extra leads from here and just keep making content there. And you answer the questions, you know, there until they eventually say like, hey, everything's clear now. And I do actually want to work with you and, you know, actually take action on this. So here it is, right? This is the 5-step process. You build attention and trust through the long form and short form content. You run your ads. You've got a banger lead magnet. You hit them with a strong VSL, and finally you qualify the person before the call. And now here's a pro tip that too many people actually skip. For everyone who doesn't buy right away, put them into some sort of, you know, email sequence or group or both. You know, where you can just continue providing value for them, and you keep continuing to basically answer all these little FAQs that they had, because maybe they've also got other ones, or maybe they just need to see more proof. Because not everyone says yes immediately, right? Some people just need to hear it one more time, or they've got one more question, or they just need to see one more proof, like a little more proof actually. And then the more consistent you are giving them that info, the higher your conversion rate becomes. And now let me give you a cheat code that took me way too long to actually understand, but something that actually changed everything, right? What do you think brand really is? Brand is just, you know, giving someone so much value over a long period of time that they feel like they know you, right? They know what you're about, they trust your way of doing things, and this is why your brands scale and why everyone else's caps, right? If you only run this 4-step, you know, funnel and stop there, right over here, you make money, right? But eventually you will also hit a ceiling. But to break that ceiling, you need to grow something bigger. Think of it like a pyramid, right? So this is a kind of like pyramid. At the top, that's your paying clients, right? Right over here. But down there, that's the base. That's everyone who follows you, listens to you, gets value from you day in and day out. And as they consume more of your content, they kind of like get more information. They move up the pyramid, right? Some stay at the bottom, some get closer, and some, become clients. But if you want to grow this slice right over here, your buyers, what do? You grow your base. That's what building a brand actually means. You're expanding your reach, building trust, and stacking your value every single day. So it becomes something like this, right? So your buyers keep on increasing, and that's the real blueprint. And so if you want to unlock the maximum potential of your Muslim coaching or halal service-based business, this is it, right? This is all you need to know. And if you want to send this even in more depth, I'm about to, inshallah, drop a video soon explaining exactly how the halal acquisition funnel works, and so how you can get 100 plus leads for your Muslim coaching business for the next month, which I'm about to drop, inshallah, soon. So stay tuned, and we'll see each other, inshallah, in the next video. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah.